So let's jump again yet into another Patreon listener question. And since it's the countdown to Christmas, we have a very special one here. I got a few Patreon listener questions, but I wanted to kind of move these around and use this one because it's topical to what's coming up now with the holiday season. So once again, if you are interested in being part of the Transformers Slag Patreons, patreon.com/Protoman, or check in the description or comments below. You get a whole bunch of cool stuff. You get a shout out of your name at the end credits, the credit scroll at the end of every segment. You get special access to the special Discord where I post all kinds of cool and rare Transformers stuff from different points in history and lore and all kinds of cool files. You also get, once in a while, depending on what tier you're in, you get some cool little presents in the old snail mail. I recently shipped out to my super high tier members a whole bunch of little goodies of overstock stuff I bought from a collection buyout. Anyone who is watching my streams know exactly what I'm talking about. And of course, most importantly of them all, you get to ask the Patreon listener question, which I flesh out here on the podcast. And we got an awesome one. This is from my Primus tier member, DF Deep. DF Deep, again, thank you for being part of the Primus tier. It's always awesome to have someone that's at that high tier level, and you have your stuff coming in the mail very soon. But let's ask your question here because it's a really good one. Happy holidays, Protoman. I don't know if you talked about this on the podcast in the past, but in the spirit of the holidays, what were some great Transformer-related presents that you got during this winter festive season? I have fond memories of waking up Christmas morning of 1997 and getting both the Beast Wars Magnaboss and Tripredacus combiner teams. There was quite the battle to be had in my living room that morning with my sister, who, while she did get some Barbies, also got Airazor. It's a funny story with that one. Thanks for the great content all year round you give us. DF Deep Freeze. Thank you, my friend. First thing I want to cover, it's funny, it's because my sister, I don't know when she got hers, but my sister, she had two Beast Wars figures, and she had Rhinox and she had Airazor, but I think she got hers, I don't know, just casually at some point or another, not during the holidays. But that's kind of funny that your sister also got Airazor. I guess it really shows, yeah, you know, the girls digged the Airazor character. So we did kind of, I know I did a segment a while back with Jaws D where we talked about some of our favorite gifts that we got, but it kind of was like a blanket statement. It covered everything. And I think I covered one Christmas example because it was just a funny story. I think I did. I don't remember. It was a while back. But I'll cover it all again because especially the Christmas one's a funny story. When I read this question, I was like, you know what? I've gotten throughout the years all kinds of little gifts and stuff, especially Transformer-related ones. But I figured what I'll do is I'll cover like those golden eras, you know, like those eras where you couldn't really afford your own stuff. So getting those gifts from parents and stuff was way more special and important. So I'm covering pretty much 96, 97, 98, and 99, which is like, you know, in the year 2000, I'd finished high school. I was 17, got my first job at that point. High school is different in Quebec, Canada, and Montreal. We finished high school at 16, 17, 18, and 19. We have something called CEGEP. It's complicated. It's hard to explain. That's just how the educational system is here. Point is that I had my first job in 2000, so I started buying my own stuff. And by 2002, I had already owned like Star Saber and a whole bunch of others, just using every single paycheck to buy Transformers. But I digress. So I'm going to cover like that early Beast era, you know, that mid-90s to late 90s, because that was the stuff that I would get as presents. And the first one that I have my memories of was in 1996. I got, and again, my parents didn't have a lot of money. There were some pretty rough Christmases in the past. I remember one Christmas, me and my sister literally got almost nothing. And what we did instead is we kind of cobbled money together and we bought presents from Toys R Us and then wrapped them ourselves. We bought our own presents, wrapped them ourselves, and then pretty much told ourselves not to open them until Christmas, just so we could have something that Christmas. That's how rough it was at one point, no joke. And I remember opening up this little clearance pack of Micro Machine Power Rangers, if you remember those Micro Machine Power Ranger sets. And that was literally my Christmas present one year. I think that was like, I want to say 93, 94. long time ago. And that's how rough it was. So literally in 1996, it was still pretty rough patches, still pretty rough. My Christmas present was, no joke, basic class pterosaur from Beast Wars. That's all I got. I got that and a brand new computer keyboard. That was it in Christmas of 1996. It was pretty rough that year, but you know, even that, you know, you appreciate what you get. You know, sometimes less is more. And I love that pterosaur figure. It was pretty awesome. I think my mom put my sister's name on it, like who gave the present. She would do that sometimes. She'd write like different family members. Sometimes she'd put, because, you know, I had a ton of animals growing up. So sometimes she'd even put the names of the animals on the ticket, saying like, oh, it came from your dog or it came from your cat. So I remember getting Pterosaur. He was pretty cool. Loved that figure. Always was worried about losing his little gun that you would store behind his head, but like almost like where his neck is, and then I'd just leave it in his hand. Some of my it's those humble beginnings. I think back and go like, man, when I got that Pterosaur figure, I could have probably fit my entire Transformer collection like on my computer desk. That's literally how simple it was back then. Like everything could have fit on top of my tower, no joke. 1997, still kind of the rough patch. Still didn't really have a lot of money back then. But I remember my dad, I think he mentioned how there was a whole bunch of, we used to have this like discount store across the street from us, and once in a while they'd get clearance items of unpopular toys. And my Transformer toys that I got in 1997 of Christmas they were mega clearancing the the Microverse Playsets, which were like the Beast Wars playsets that transformed these little micro playsets. So I got both Microverse Playsets, which was Arachnid and Orkanok. I got both of those for Christmas in 97. And I'll tell you something, I loved those to death. I still to this day, I wish they did more Microverse stuff, because I love micro playsets. I love like Mighty Max and all that kind of stuff, Micro Machines. I played the hell out of those things. Loved them to death. 1998, then we go into full throttle. It's not like my parents were rolling in the dough, but I'll tell you something. 2 great presents. One of them is almost unbelievable. I think I told it on the last segment with Jaws D all those years ago, but my dad was a picker. He would look for used toys, vinyl records. That's what he always does. I did a nice little segment with him on one of my other channels, talking about my dad and his toy collecting and his history of collecting. And he used to know people. And he would always tell guys, hey, if you ever see, transforming robots, let me know. Because, you keep an eye out for vintage Transformers. And a lot of my G1 collection, some of the early pieces that I got came from that kind of method. And my dad, I don't know how, like pure luck. And today it's mind-blowing when you think about it. He found a Canadian edition G1 Pepsi Optimus Prime. And he got it through a guy who normally in the collecting world locally here is known for like autographs, and he collected money. Like he would collect foreign currency and stuff. And his wife would like also kind of, peruse like flea markets and stuff. So she's kind of looking for him. And he came across a Pepsi Prime. My dad saw it. And knowing my dad, I probably had the conversation where he probably came up to me and said like, hey, did they ever do an Optimus Prime that had the Pepsi logo on it? And I probably schooled him, and he went, huh, okay. And then he went and bought it. And that was amazing. And it was just the trailer. It didn't even have like the Optimus Prime. It was just the trailer. But when I saw it, I was like, oh man. Because I knew even back then how rare that was, because of how some of the biggest collectors at the time, and we're talking 1998, like the collecting community, some of the biggest collectors in the Transformer community who were completists didn't have that, and they were looking for it. And for me to go like, oh wow, they're looking for that, and I got it, I thought that was like amazing. Another one that I got in 98 was, and I told this story, I remember telling this story with Jaws D on the podcast, was I was part of a big group of people that would all hang out together at school, and at one point, we all wanted to do like a gift exchange among all of us, like a little Secret Santa kind of thing. And it was, I want to say like 10 guys and like 7 girls, like our little crew in high school. And so we did a little gift exchange. It was all random, and so we would all pull names out of a hat, and whoever we got, we had to, get a gift for. And the person that you had to get the gift for was not necessarily who was going to give you a gift. So it was always like a surprise. And I remember pulling a name for one of the girls in our group, and she was super easy to buy for. So thank goodness for that. But the one who pulled my name was a friend of mine, and I knew right away that he pulled my name because of how I found out. We were at Walmart, and we were just standing in Walmart, and we were just I always check the toy aisle, and this was like around the time of like early Transmetal 2s were happening, and it was the tail end of Beast Wars coming up, and he pretty much came, he was pretty like, hey, I have a question, like, which figures do you have here that you would say are really good? And I knew exactly the moment he asked me that. I was like, why would he ask that? And especially because my friend didn't really collect Transformers. He was someone who was online in the Transformer community, but he wasn't really a toy collector. And he wasn't really someone who enjoyed Transformer product. He was more like he was buying more Star Wars figures and stuff like that. And I was like, I kind of had a feeling what he was doing here. And so I was like, well, and this really shows the humble beginnings of me. I was like, at the time, I was like, well, I only have like this Transmetal 2 Cheetor Deluxe here. Everything else I don't have here pretty much. So all I could tell you is that this Transmetal 2 Cheetor, it's okay. It's okay. I was a little excited for it, but it's an okay figure. It wasn't anything too special. It's like, oh, okay. So at least that Transmetal 2 Cheetor. All right. And right away I knew, like, oh man, like, did he get my name? Did he pull my name? Well, at least I told him the one thing I don't have there. And then when we finally did do the gift exchange before the holiday season, he came up not just with a deluxe. He came up with the mega scale, which is, well, I guess what we could call Voyagers today. And he came up with mega scale Transmetal 2 Cybershark, and that's pretty awesome. That was pretty awesome. At the time, I want to say that was probably $19.99. I want to say was the price for mega scale, aka what a Voyager was back in the day. And so that was pretty cool of him to do that. Now, granted, I pretty much knew it was him and that I was probably gonna get some kind of Transformer product, but still a pretty cool little thing. And the very last one, and it was probably one of the last times that I really got presents from my family, because again, after like 2000 and I started getting my own job, I pretty much kind of agreed with my parents and stuff, like, yeah, we'll still give little small things to each other during the holidays, but there's no point in really like blowing loads of money on each other especially when a lot of us have our own jobs and stuff. And we kind of understood that because of how tight it was, the budget sometimes in our house. We lived in a little rough area, but it was what it was. And I remember the very last major Transformer present that I got from Christmas was in 1999, getting Depth Charge Ultra Class. And that was, again, another one that's like, oh, love that figure. Such an amazing figure, like, super show accurate right out of the box from day one. Really liked it a lot. And his little shark drone weapon that also becomes his gun, the fact that he could shoot little discs out of his chest. And it shows just back then just how small my collection was and how it was growing and growing and growing, especially when eBay came around and stuff like that, and I got my first job and I could really focus my money. And then especially when I started getting wise into the concept of like buying and selling, and I was always a bit of a hustler in high school, and when I would go to conventions and stuff. So anyway, to expand the collection. But yeah, those were some. And then again, like, I'm pretty sure like the 2000s moving forward, I must have gotten some little small something or something. But I mean, at that point, I started literally buying so many Transformers. Like, eBay had just rolled around in the late 90s, early 2000s, and that just opened the floodgates. And having imagine you eBay comes out 99, 2000. In 2000, 2001, I get my very first job. I'm pulling in, it wasn't great. It was just first started working at Burger King pretty much. But, when you're pulling in upwards of like $600 every 2 weeks, and you don't have to spend that $600 on. There is no major cell phone bills back then. It was flip phones with pay-as-you-go cards, so you didn't have to worry about that. Your parents are paying rent, and everything, and it was just like, it was something where I could work evenings at Burger King and still go to college, and every time I got that $600 paycheck, I could just go buck wild on eBay. And man, did I do that a lot. It's sad to say, no joke. I mean, I wised up years later, but around the Energon era, I want to say I got smart to the more finance of Transformers. But back then, man, I didn't have a penny to my name because I would blow every single paycheck on something. I'd almost plan it out. I'd be like, all right, paycheck's coming Thursday, Friday, and I'd be eyeing like this like $300 figure or something from the Japanese era or something. Like Star Saber, I think back then, I think Star Saber ran me like $170 mint in box, but that was a different era. But yeah, that's more or less it. Those were some really good presents though, and again I find it funny that your sister got AirRaiser. That's that's just funny because my sister too, like, she really liked AirRaiser and Rhinox. She liked Rhinox too. But yeah, that's it more or less. I mean, Christmas now, like, look, Christmas is coming up, and I always tell people, and it's the same thing with my birthday now, I don't really want presents, like there was an old saying that's so true, your presence is the presents, and it is true. And it's like, to me, it was just like, having a birthday party and having my friends around is more important than gifts and stuff like that. I think every day is already kind of Christmas for me in a lot of ways, or a birthday. So the need to have all this plastic and stuff like that coming from people is not necessary. Save your money. Give me your time. Don't give me your wallet, but still good stuff. But yeah, thanks again for the question. DF Deep, awesome stuff. And if you want to be someone like DF Deep, who is part of the Patreon and wants to ask a question on the podcast, or just let us know that we're doing a good job and support us with all the little crazy stuff we do, so we could upgrade all the tech and everything, so we could have really good streams and stuff like that also once a week. Just check the description below, patreon.com/protoman. Join the party. And again, people, if you don't hear me in the future, happy holidays. Anything that you celebrate, whatever that may be. Stay safe. Careful out there. It's still a crazy world right now, ending in 2020. But stay safe. Keep your head low. And take care of yourselves.